were closed more than they were open. It was either student strikes or lecturer strikes. I mean, just they were never in school. It was taking 7 years to complete a 3-year degree, a 4-year degree. I mean, it was just ridiculous. And then there was, you weren't sure whether you were being taught, whether the kids were being taught properly. I mean, when I was at the University of Lagos, we had an incredible reference library for law. It was an amazing library. I mean, you could sit there for hours. We had material from every leading university in the world. We had material from Oxford. We had material from Harvard. I mean, you really were doing a world-class degree. By the time my children were going to university in Nigeria, library books were being ripped apart. I don't think we had a reference library anymore. And it was a really deplorable situation. And then the hostels. We had a very, very good time in residence. You know, either 2 to a room or 5 to a room. It all made sense. You had 12 kids by the time the kids were going to school. You had 12, 13 kids in a room for 2. Kids sleeping on mattresses in corridors. It's just unbelievably poor conditions. And I would ask myself, how can you possibly study like this? But there was a deeper issue though. What were we producing? What would these conditions produce in terms of a professional class? What were we preparing these kids to be? What values were we instilling in them? I mean, exam fraud was rife. And we just felt, this is not what we want for our children. And to the extent that we can afford to give them an alternative, we would strive to do that.
Okay, thank you very much. Just a follow-up on that, I do not know if you're aware that the last year's result of the National Examination Council was a disaster. We had a massive 98% failure, meaning we had only 2% of the candidates making 5 credit passes in subjects including English and mathematics. The rest had either below 5 credits or perhaps up to 5 credits, but excluding English and mathematics. It wasn't like that. It has never been bad like that in Nigeria. But that will lead me to the next question, which is on the impact of the Nigerians in diaspora on our people back home. We always look up to you, those of you who are not at home, believing that you have interfaced more with the outside world than those of us who are there. What do you think Nigerians in diaspora could do, you know, to assist in pushing forward or advancing the level of awareness of Nigerians? Because essentially this is exactly what leads to the corruption and issues of unprofessional conduct that we have back home that has so much affected the growth of our overall development.
You know, I'm going to disappoint you because I think it's simplistic to assume that people who live overseas are necessarily more aware simply because they live overseas of what our educational system may need or perhaps is lacking. I think the problem is a little more complex than that. Something happens that enables bad behavior in Nigeria. And it's the kind of behavior that probably we would attempt overseas if we could get away with it. Okay? And I'm speaking now as a lawyer and a manager. I think what we have in Nigeria is a breakdown of systems, legal systems. I think we have a management crisis. And at the end of the day, it all, I think, flows from a crisis of values, of moral values. Okay? And so people will take shortcuts anywhere in the world where they can. Okay? And I think what you have in Nigeria is an environment where it is infinitely possible to get away with shortcuts. And we've done it to the point where we have undermined most of our systems almost entirely. And I think if people could do things, if you could buy a certificate here in the States and get away with it, I think people would do it.
Yep.
How do you explain Enron?
Yeah.
How do you explain the implosion of Wall Street?
Yeah.
I don't think corruption is genetic.
Yeah.
I think it's endemic, and I think it's cultural. Where you can get away with it, you will be corrupt. I think, the Bible says the heart of man is desperately wicked.
Yeah.
I believe that, and I think, therefore, what's wrong with Nigeria is that you can get away with the wrong thing.
Okay.
And I think what's right with many other places that you cannot get away with doing the wrong
Okay.
thing. And so I don't think it's as easy as people live overseas and therefore know better. I think they have to do better because there is enforcement.
Okay.
I think you have to comply with law and order, with systems, and therefore they become self-sustaining.
Okay. So what then is the way forward?
Consequences. I think there has to be accountability. Hopefully, as a country that was doing incredibly well post-independence with education, I mean, it's still true. It took Joe Stiglitz, who used to be the chief economist, by the way, at the World Bank, to go to Nigeria and inform Nigerians that the highest educated immigrants into the U.S. are Nigerians. It took Joe Stiglitz to tell us that. Our government has never told us that. I don't think our embassies know that.
Yeah.
And I don't think that we have a consciousness of what our contribution means to black people.
Yeah.
Okay? What our contribution, what our stature, our moral stature means to black people when we stand and we are moral, or when we fall because we are immoral.
Yeah.
What that means. I don't think we dwelt on that. It is a national issue. I think there needs to be a national consciousness around the significance of the success or failure of Nigeria and Nigerians to black people. It's not just a national dilemma.
Yeah.
It is something that should engage the consciousness of Nigerians on behalf of the race.
Great.
I feel very strongly about that.
Thank you very much. That takes me to perhaps about the final question. What's your views about Nigerians practicing in the U.S.? How do you assess them in terms of professional competence?
We excel. We simply excel. And this is the tragedy.
The reason I asked that question is, if we excel elsewhere, how come we're not doing very good at home?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's I don't know what it is about our national psyche, but I don't know whether we feel that we owe one another the best. Okay, it's funny when I walk into a store in the States. There's something about us. When I walk into a store in the States, and I see a lack of diversity, I see too many black people, or too many white people, or too many Asians, I know that I'm not going to get a good deal in that store.
Yeah.
Okay, you need, I think, a variety of perspectives. I think you need diversity to have true prosperity.
Okay.
I think it's the enrichment from across many cultures and across many perspectives that gives us progress, that gives us creativity, that gives us innovation. Okay. In Nigeria, we take for granted the fact that we have 260 ethnicities, that we are a Christian nation and a Muslim nation. Okay. It's a very powerful combination of 150 million individual people.
Yeah.
And we don't harness that. And so the Nigerian professional here understands that there are incredible odds against your doing well. We know we're always under scrutiny because we're immigrants. Mm-hmm. Okay? We know what it's cost for us to get what we have. Outside Nigeria. We know that there are people in Nigeria that we need to send money to, who rely on us for good counsel. There is an assumption, you know, that we were discussing, that we know something that perhaps they don't know. I mean, there are all kinds of responsibilities and accountabilities that have a bearing on, I believe, the way Nigerian professionals comport themselves and discharge their duties, the way we occupy the positions that are entrusted to us. And I just think if we could think as a nation of what we bring to the global discourse, or what we take from it when we aren't the best that we can be, I think there needs to be a discussion of that and a consciousness around that.
Thank you very much. And a quick one now. 2011 is around the corner. What's your take on the elections?
I hope we don't mess it up.
Good. I like that. I hope we don't mess it up. And that's the much we can take on the interview segment. It's been a wonderful moment, a fulfilling moment with our own Julie Oyegun, who is the Chief Diversity Officer at the World Bank. You will agree with me that this is a core professional. She had her basic training in Nigeria, and today she is well respected at the World Bank here in Washington, D.C. What more can I say? Well, the parents, I keep telling you, do not push your kids to go study in a course that you think goes with a lot of prestige. What you do is to encourage your child to read a course or study a course that he or she would be proud to practice by the time he or she graduates from school. So it's been my pleasure once again. Like I said, Julie Oyegun, this is a professional handshake. And before you leave, I'm sure no one has done this before, but I'm going to do this on behalf of the Federal Ministry of Information and Communications. I'm going to decorate you with the map of Nigeria as a tag. Permit me, our own Julie Oyegun. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you.
So my pleasure once again.
A great pleasure.
So please do not go away. A Chat to the Professional returns after this break to wrap up. Alright viewers, I'm afraid that's the much we can take today on A Chat to the Professional, the 10th anniversary series special. And like I keep saying, what we do is to encourage you, the younger ones. Apart from the younger ones, the practicing professionals, the program is there for you to also draw inspiration so you could stick to professional ethics. We want to have a better society. Africa is indeed in demand of professionalism so that we could move away from the quagmire we found ourselves in. Africa being lumped as a single country. If you travel out of the continent, they ask you, are you from Africa? And they don't see Africa as a continent, but as a country. And so, if we are making our marks the world over as Nigerians, then we should be doing well at home. Come 2011, it's there for all of us to make a statement and say, yes, we've got to change things. We've got to turn things around for the better. And that's what we are trying to do with those practicing professionals who are Nigerians, who are outside our continent of Africa. So till next week when I come your way with another special package, I remain Martin Sobu saying stay blessed and bye for now.